If you don't like the fruit, don't shake the tree. Amma used to hate that sentence. It felt vague, philosophical, and annoyingly poetic, like something old people say when they want to sound deep but don't explain anything. She heard it so many times growing up that it became background noise. But the day her entire life collapsed in slow motion, those words didn't just echo, they detonated. It was a Tuesday morning. Not a dramatic, stormy, thunder-filled Tuesday. Just an ordinary one. The kind of weekday that tricks you into thinking life will behave simply because the sky is blue. Amma sat at her desk sipping tea that tasted like boiled disappointment, refreshing her inbox every 5 minutes like her future depended on it. Because, in a way, it did. The promotion she'd been fighting for was her golden ticket out of mediocrity. She had worked late nights, early mornings, missed birthdays, skipped meals, smiled through disrespect, and produced results that made her colleagues joke. "Are you sure you're not AI?" But at 10:26 a.m., the email arrived. It didn't even have the courtesy to be long. Just a short, corporate-scented rejection with the emotional warmth of a frozen brick. "We appreciate your dedication, but..." That but sliced her open. She stared at the glowing screen while her heartbeat became a drum swallowed by water. She felt the room spinning even though she was perfectly still. The worst part. No one noticed she was breaking. Her colleagues walked by chatting about lunch plans, the latest TikTok trend, and someone's wedding drama, while Amma sat quietly dying behind her carefully curated work smile. Then came the emotional domino effect. First, a message from her friend Kwaku. "Hey, something came up. Rain check." It was the third cancellation in 3 weeks, and Amma knew exactly what "something came up" really meant. Someone else had offered him a plan that didn't involve listening to her vent about her life. Kwaku only showed up when he needed help or a buffer for his boredom. Then her boyfriend sent a text, after leaving her on read for 2 days. "You're overthinking again. You need to relax." No apology. No explanation. Just emotional gaslighting sprinkled like breadcrumbs. As if the universe wasn't finished with its comedy special, her mother sent a voice note casually comparing her to 3 cousins who were moving forward in life. One was getting married, one just bought a car, and the other had launched a business selling hair products and apparently made more money in a week than Amma made in a month. The message ended with, "Don't you think you should be doing more?" By evening, Amma didn't feel like a person anymore. She felt like a cracked phone screen, functional but one drop away from destruction. She walked home slowly, letting the city lights smear into streaks of color. Cars honked. Voices layered over one another. The night smelled like roasted plantain and exhaust fumes. And all she could think was, why am I the only one losing? At home, she stared at her reflection. Puffy eyes, tired cheeks, mascara smudged like a badly drawn map. She looked like a woman who had spent her entire adulthood auditioning for a life that wasn't choosing her back. There was only one place she could go. Her grandmother's house. A sanctuary of woven mats, herbal scents, and wisdom that hit harder than reality TV confessionals. When Amma arrived, drenched in exhaustion, her grandmother didn't ask a question. She simply motioned for her to sit. Amma sat. The moment she opened her mouth, she broke. The tears came like floodwater breaching a dam. She confessed everything. Her fears, her frustrations, the fake friendships, the career stagnation, the pressure to achieve, the comparison that strangled her every time she scrolled through social media. Her grandmother listened with the patience of someone who had lived through heartbreaks that could make a telenovela weep. When Amma finally stopped talking, her grandmother placed her palm over Amma's trembling hand and said, quietly but firmly, "My child, if you don't like the fruit, don't shake the tree." At first, Amma wanted to roll her eyes. She wanted an instruction manual, not a proverb. But the more she replayed the words, the more they cut through her confusion like light through fog. She had been blaming the fruit, outcomes, disappointments, heartbreaks, while refusing to examine the trees she kept choosing. She wanted recognition from a job that rewarded politics, not talent. She wanted loyalty from friends who only cared when she made life convenient for them. She wanted compassion from a partner emotionally allergic to accountability. She wanted confidence from comparing herself to influencers who lived on Facetune and Photoshop. She wanted peace from chaos and clarity from noise. She wanted sweet fruit from bitter trees. The realization was both painful and liberating. So Amma stopped shaking. For the first time in her life, she chose intentional silence. Reset. Her transformation didn't begin with fireworks. It began with small, almost invisible acts of rebellion. She stopped responding instantly to messages that only drained her. She said no without adding a paragraph of justification. She unfollowed every social media account that made her feel inadequate. She started journaling, even when the words came out messy and raw. She took evening walks to clear her mind instead of doom scrolling. She let herself rest without guilt. Then came the moment that changed everything. She recorded a TikTok. A raw, unfiltered, shaky-handed video where she admitted she felt lost. She expected 5 views and maybe 1 pity like. Instead, it went viral. Thousands of comments. People saying she had put their feelings into words. People thanking her for being honest in a world obsessed with pretending. That was the first fruit from a new tree. From there, her life began shifting like tiles falling into place. She quit her job, not impulsively but intentionally. She accepted that a workplace that resented her brilliance didn't deserve her brilliance. She ended her relationship, not with drama but with dignity. She walked away from a man who only loved the quiet, shrinking version of her. She cut off draining friendships, not with bitterness but with boundaries. She started a blog about emotional healing and personal transformation. It exploded. Readers resonated with her authenticity. Her pain wasn't a weakness, it was a mirror. She launched a podcast. Brands began reaching out. Invitations came. Opportunities she never imagined started unfolding. Not because she tried harder but because she chose better. She planted new trees. Purpose, alignment, self-worth, healing, boundaries, truth. And those trees bore fruit that felt like sunlight in edible form. Years later, Alma stood on a stage in front of hundreds of women at a wellness conference. Her life was unrecognizable. Someone from the audience asked, "What was the exact moment everything changed for you?" Alma smiled, remembering the rain, the heartbreak, the kitchen, her grandmother's gentle voice, and that sentence that rebuilt her life from the foundation up. She leaned into the microphone and said, "It changed the day I stopped shaking trees that only dropped rotten fruit. I realized the problem wasn't me. It was the soil I kept standing on. When the environment is wrong, the outcome will always be wrong. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't in trying harder but in walking away sooner." The audience fell silent. It wasn't the kind of silence that follows confusion. It was the silence of recognition, of truth hitting bone. Alma ended her talk with the words that had reshaped her destiny. "If you don't like the fruit, don't shake the tree." And as the applause erupted, she knew every woman in that room was confronting their own trees. The jobs, the relationships, the friendships, the patterns, the fears. Because deep down they knew, just like Alma did, that they had been shaking the wrong trees too.